Hello folks, so we're going to talk about the current system that is impacting the south and that will be moving up the coast throughout the next 24 to 48 hours. The main threat with this system is going to be flooding. I'm telling you right now, that is the main threat. Like, even though there's going to be some severe weather across the south and towards the east coast over the next day or so, the main threat is going to be heavy rain and some flooding. If you look, this is your water vapor imagery courtesy of AccuWeather. You can see there's dry air working in behind the system, and then you have all this moisture that's coming up from the Gulf. The low-level jet is pretty strong on the eastern side of the low pressure that's centered right over Texas right now, and that's really helping to bring that moisture in on the eastern side and just ramp up. So this is basically a very big area of rain. There's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere as a result of the wind flow bringing in the moisture from the Gulf. And so you have a big blob of rain, some of it very heavy in certain locations, and then back into Texas and Louisiana, Mississippi, maybe western portions of Alabama into southern Arkansas, and these areas here. You have some dynamics in place, some instability, some wind shear, and some minor, not impressive, but some decent enough values of CAPE, convective available potential energy, where you are looking at a chance for severe weather currently right now and through tonight. So we will be getting into that, but this is, your impressive satellite right now. Just look at all this moisture coming in. That's really impressive. So that's your disturbance. Looking at your standard satellite, again, this is your disturbance that's moving through. Your center of low pressure, again, is right in here, over eastern Texas, it looks like. And then you have this big mass of clouds from that moisture coming in. And then there's actually another disturbance back in here that's going to be combining with this as it moves up the coast. And that's going to strengthen this a little bit. And it's going to be a pretty potent trough that's going to be impacting the area over the next day or two. Alright, so this is the Canadian model, and there have been some model differences in the track of this, but it's still pretty much set in stone what's going to happen. There's not too much model difference in how this is going to play out, but this is your main trough right now that's bringing the heavy rain to the entire Gulf Coast here, and the severe weather over eastern Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, these areas here. Alright, so this trough is going to continue to move to the north and east, and you can see it's actually taking in moisture from the Pacific as well as the Gulf here, since it's actually pretty close to both areas. So it has two sources of moisture right now. The Gulf is its main source. So this is going to move east. And I just want to point something else out. Notice you have another trough up to the northwest. By tomorrow, this is going to combine with this, and you're going to get a digging trough, meaning it's digging far enough to the south where there's going to be a big swath of precipitation across the entire east coast. Alright, so here we go. This is now, and then that thing moves to the east, and a piece of this now comes down and starts to combine with it. Okay, so now we are early Monday. Okay, so now our trough is over here, over, I believe that would be Kentucky, Tennessee, these areas, Arkansas and Missouri. Your center of low pressure is right in here, and then you have this pretty potent shortwave here that's coming in, and then you have more energy behind it, and this is going to all come together by Monday evening, and you're going to get a really powerful trough to form. But your main threat for severe weather would be on the eastern and southern side of this for tomorrow. So you can see it's going to basically be across the entire southeast here. And the dynamics here, they're not as good as I'd like them to be. I really don't think severe weather is the main threat with this. I think the main threat's heavy rain and flooding. That's my thinking here. So then you see how this combines with this in the next run. See that? So now you have a trough, and it's all together. It's all consolidated for the most part. It actually becomes more consolidated Monday night. See that? So now it's all consolidated. So your trough is extending all the way back into the south. So because it's like this, not only is it going to be taking in moisture from the Atlantic Ocean, but it'll also be taking in moisture from the Gulf at the same time because this trough extends all the way back south. So this is a really potent system. And here's your center of low pressure now. It's over the Great Lakes. And then it shifts to the northeast. And it starts to move out. Your low pressure is now over Maine. This is by Tuesday evening. And your trough is now going to swing through and move out. And there's going to be another area of low pressure on the southern end of this. There's going to be a cold front that comes through. The low pressure that's up here is actually dragging a cold front through the entire eastern seaboard, and there will be another area of low pressure down here. And your cold front obviously would be the main focus for some thunderstorm activity. Alright, so that's the overall view of the trough that's going to be causing the heavy rain, flooding, and marginal severe weather threat. Now, what I am concerned about, though, is that as the cold front moves through during the day on Monday tomorrow, that the wind profiles will be supportive of a squall line to develop. A squall line of heavy rain and embedded thunderstorms up to the north, and then possibly some severe storms down to the south where there will be some instability in place. So that's my concern there. But if you want to take a look first at... what do we want to look at first? I think I'll show you the low-level jet first. This is where we are now. So this is this evening. This is the low-level jet according to the European model. So you can see the screen here, your center of low pressure again over Texas, and then on the eastern side of this, you have these low-level jet winds that are going to be up to 50 miles per hour. So that's pretty potent low-level jets, so that's going to be infecting all that moisture in. It'll be adding to the wind shear in the atmosphere. So once again, that'll be conducive for a couple of supercells perhaps early this evening that'll be embedded in your blob of rain that's over the south. And I think these supercells might be capable of damaging winds, certainly, and possibly a few isolated tornadoes and very heavy rain. Again, heavy rain is your main threat. So that would be across... I'm going to put Louisiana in that threat, definitely. Louisiana, New Orleans, you're going to be in that threat. Baton Rouge and Shreveport, you're in the threat for tonight, this afternoon and tonight. Mississippi, I'll put in there as well. Jackson, Mississippi, I'm going to put you in that threat as well. And then eastern Texas, we're going to throw Dallas in there. We're going to throw Houston in there. And we're going to throw Austin in there as well. So that'll be for this afternoon and tonight. The severe weather threat, possibly extending into southern Arkansas and maybe even western Alabama, Mobile. You might be in that threat for tonight, later tonight probably. But that low-level jet is really going to be helping out. So that's my... I don't have forecast maps where I'm drawing out the severe weather threat, so I kind of have to say where it's going to be. So again, for this afternoon and tonight, this area that I'm circling here, severe weather threat, there you go. Okay, so... that's the low-level jet. Let's take a look at Cape. Alright, so when we get to... actually, make it a little bit further than that. Alright, so as you get into this evening, this is what the Cape looks like. So... as of this afternoon, your main instability is across eastern Texas and sections of Louisiana here. That's where you have your highest Cape values, possibly approaching 2,000 joules per kilogram across southeastern and eastern Texas here. And then maybe up to 1,500 across Louisiana. That's for this afternoon and this evening. So when you have Cape like that, that tells me that there's going to be storms forming off the surface. That means... so as you're looking at the Cape, what that tells me is that storms are going to be forming vertically upward off the surface. There's going to be some instability there. And so it looks like with your higher values of Cape across eastern Texas and Louisiana, I think there will be a hail threat. I think your main threat for large hail would be across eastern Texas towards Austin, Dallas, and Houston this afternoon and this evening. And then as you head further east, you might see some small hail, maybe quarter to $half size, but not bigger than that across Louisiana and Mississippi there. But your main threat again is damaging winds and heavy rain. And if you want to look at, this is our plot of energy helicity index. And your energy helicity index, once again, it takes into account CAPE, it takes into account your wind shear, excuse me, and it takes all these into account, and it comes up with a value for the amount of rotation that'll be in the atmosphere, or the ability of thunderstorms to rotate. And by this evening, you can see that you have that index approaching 2 across Louisiana and, excuse me, I'm still sick, guys, I apologize, and Mississippi and southeastern Texas. So this area here, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, you would be in there, and then southern Mississippi, and then southeastern Texas back in here. By this evening, there might be an isolated tornado threat because there will be some rotation present. And then by Monday morning, that kind of shifts east over into Mississippi. And so I think you're going to have an isolated tornado threat overnight in these areas towards the Gulf Coast here. And then as you head into tomorrow, again, there's really not that much across the eastern seaboard into Tuesday morning. This is tomorrow evening, and then that's Tuesday morning. There's really not a lot. I think there might be an isolated threat again, but not too much. And then again, if you take a look at your CAPE, it's sort of there across the Gulf Coast here. Not too much, which is why I'm not too worried about a large hail threat, except across Texas and maybe Louisiana. That might be a hail threat, but not too concerned about that. And if you just take a look at helicity here, this is another measure of rotation. You can see that, again, eastern Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi for tonight, this is where your helicity is going to be the greatest. So I think your greatest threat for a couple of isolated tornadoes would be here for later today into this evening. In that big blob of rain, you would get some isolated supercells to form because there will be some CAPE around, and some of those could rotate if there's enough shear in the atmosphere, which that's what the EHI and the helicity indexes are showing here. Okay, so that's your severe weather threat, and then the last thing we look at for severe weather is dew points. We need very high dew points to be indicating in the atmosphere instability due to moisture being advected in. Alright, so this evening, here we go. Here are your dew points. Well, let's look at this afternoon first. As you go into this afternoon, you see that your dew points are most prevalent across southeastern Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. They're the highest there. And then by tonight, it starts to move north a little bit. You have the low-level jet is actually going to be strengthening throughout the day today. So it's going to be helping with the advection of warm air coming on in. And when you get warm air advecting on in, once again, that helps thunderstorms to form, and that helps their updrafts to strengthen. So when you have high dew points like that, that's pretty good. That means you're getting that moisture to come on in and create some instability. You're looking for dew points generally of 60 or higher. And so anywhere in the brown and orange, that would be your main area for that. So Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, that would be by this evening. So that, again, that's where I've outlined my main severe weather threat into tonight. Alright, so that's today's severe weather threat. In the next video, we'll talk about tomorrow.